I'm a Collingwood person. That's just the way it is. I grew up on this ground. This place is home to some of the most famous names in footy.
Here's the magician, near the boundary line. 30 metres out, Peter Dacos.
Some of the game's greatest icons.
Vanessa from centre half forward using his strength, shoots for goal and he's got that.
Robin Rose will shoot for goal.
Oh, intercepting beautifully as Moraine. Or the flight from behind.
Brown, keep it in, ready to an open goal and get through.
Well, Tony Shaw has been an inspirational player.
But there's one name at Collingwood that now stands alone. Collingwood outgrew Victoria Park and the modern era of the club began. And with it came the era of Scott Pendlebury.
Scott Pendlebury steps forward. Deluxe!
He arrived wide-eyed, always asking questions, soaking up knowledge, and before long, putting it into action.
Young Pendlebury stands up. Big raps, big basketball background. He joins the club.
Pendlebury, the youngster.
From the very beginning, it was evident that we had a player that did the ordinary things extraordinarily well. The undeniable talent only matched by the professionalism and dedication to his craft.
To Pendlebury, part of the seas beautifully.
They're the core ingredients that flavour a career of consistency.
The sailing should be smooth from here.
If you could imagine Neo from The Matrix, everything happens at breakneck speed around him.
All the way with Scotty Pendlebury.
But he sees the game so much slower than others. He's not one step ahead, he's 3 ahead of 99% of his combatants. That is his superpower.
Pendlebury, well, there you go.
No one in the history of the game has touched the footy more times than him, yet you could hardly recall a mistake or a moment of indecision.
And we marvel at Scott Pendlebury once again.
Even bouncing the footy on pigeons with grace and class.
Pretty sure that the pigeon flew off and he was fine.
Very few can sense the moments,
And the winner of the Anzac Day medal.
let alone rise to them.
Winner of the Norm Smith medal for 2010.
That's Pendle.
Scott Pendlebury.
He defied his birth certificate with the way he marshalled the last 40 minutes of last year's decider. With chaos around him, he's the cool head that stood out
Number 10.
and stood up.
Scott Pendlebury.
The rest, well, that's history. And speaking of history, he continues to make it. He now joins another rare club, the 400 Club. But he stands alone in the rarest club of all, as Collingwood's greatest.
What a game and what a moment to look forward to. Pendle's 400 Saturday night at the G with Gary Lyon and the team leading the charge on Fox. 2 players who will be there. Sam Doherty and Jeremy Howe join us at the desk. No doubt you'll be sporting some Pendle's 400 merch in the lead up to this big one. What does it mean for the club?
Oh, it's going to be an amazing week to celebrate Scott. As uncomfortable as it does make him for us to celebrate and talk about him often, but yeah, even just watching the intro and the highlights, you're never surprised at what he does, but it's the consistency at such a high level for 399 games. You just can't help but sit back and just be like, wow. And I was even just getting goosebumps.
What did you say at the end of that video? You said, I've got goosebumps.
I've got goosebumps, yeah. Literally, when you see stuff like that, it's big games, big time plays, consistently done at a high level. And, you know, what is he, 36 now, and he's still playing at an elite level. So credit to him. We're so grateful to be a part of his journey along the way as well.
Because we take it for granted sometimes, don't we? We don't get to celebrate the champions whilst they're still playing.
Yeah, and I think, again, it keeps coming back to he's been a champion of the game for, what, 18 years now. And it's like, at some stage, it's like, yes, form has dropped away for the smallest of margins, but out of his 399, he's probably played 370 great ones. So, yeah, again, lucky to be able to wear the same jersey as him because he was a nightmare when he used to play against him.
As a teammate, and you heard Bucks speak about him there, what do you think he's number one quality? And you think, as an opponent, what you believe to be Scott Pendlebury's number one quality?
Yeah, so lucky enough, as a teammate, I think when the game presents something different, at no stage does he hesitate to start pulling triggers in game, in time. So I know coaches are starting to try to work out the game, what it looks like, but for him, he's already done that halfway through first quarter and he's starting to manipulate how the game starts to look. So his greatest strength for us is making his teammates better around him. Like, he has every right to go and chase the ball and do everything that he requires for him. But I think the way that he stands in the middle of the ground, he's 90% of the time, he's setting up his teammates, putting them in the right spot, orchestrating our offence, but also having a heavy influence on the way that we defend. So it's like, he's a coach's dream because he's literally a coach out in the field, and he'll make a great career of that as well.
Yeah, I'd say the exact same, similar line. I would have just said his brain. He's like, as much as he's got the physical attributes and skill that's clearly been able to play for 399 games, his footy brain's second to none in the league. And I remember watching some of the vision and stuff of what he did in the grand final last year. Like, there's not many players in the league that have the presence of mind to be able to think calmly through those situations, but actually know what to do as well. Yeah, he's been an amazing player for a long period of time.
Is he vocal? Can you recall him talking a lot on the field, directing, being a general, or is it more actions?
I think it's a bit of both, but I'd further that to even I watched. He's played on Cripper a few times, and the way he does it, and the smarts that he has to bring into his game to be able to play on that, and yeah, I've got a lot of admiration for the way he goes about it, and I think the whole competition more broadly does. And he's been a super player, and hopefully doesn't get the win on the weekend, but we'll see how that goes. But I'll be watching from the sidelines for sure.
What would be the most challenging aspect of playing 400 games? What's the one aspect of your day-to-day job as an AFL player that you would think, I can't imagine doing that for 20 years?
Oh, I guess not getting bored of what you do. I think the greatest strength that he's had, even in his off-seasons, he sets them up every single time. They're always different. There's an opportunity to always get better. I know they're just words, but to action it every single year. He's always potentially tweaking his diet, his gym program, the way that he recovers. He's massive on his sleep. And then he starts implementing that to others and gets people to trial it. And I was only joking about it before, like, I'm closing in on 250. I couldn't think how my body would even feel playing another 150 on top. And again, at that high elite level for such a long time, you can't help but just, be happy for him.
What do you think when you think about that longevity of his career, Sam?
I thought of playing 400 games for me. That gives me the heebie-jeebies, to be honest. But I'm at he's at 250, I'm at 170, and my joints are only just hanging on. So, no, it's amazing effort. You don't get there without being a high professional with recovery, with, as Jeremy's saying, his off-seasons and stuff, being able to set your life up in a way to be able to get better and continue to get better. There's always kids getting drafted these days to come and take your spot, and he keeps defying that. I think he's playing on again next year. So,
just one more. Does it have to be spoken about, this game this week, and the importance of the game? Because often coaches say, no, it's just another week. It's not just another week, because you're actually representing Collingwood, but you're also representing Scott Pendlebury this week. That's just the way life goes.
Yeah.
What does that do for the motivation of this club?
Well, I think that's the perfect one. If you want to talk about, you'd like to think you're pretty easily motivated, but if you're struggling to find any form of motivation, to just take one small thing from what Pendle's been able to do for 399 games, is just do your job. And I think that's what all that we can do is, he's played multiple roles for such a long period of time, and yes, he does it at a really high level, but what can we take out and what can we do? Get everyone to just do their job, play their role, and that'll give us the best chance to be able to celebrate the greatest player that's ever wore the colours.
What about as a mate? What's this going to mean to you when you see him as a mate run out on Saturday night? Yeah, it'll be huge. I've really grown close with Scott over my journey at Collingwood, and seeing him grow as a person away from the game, like seeing him with Alex, Darcy, Jax, his family, really close family, both his siblings, his brothers as well. And yeah, it means a lot. And he's great with my son Xander as well. And I think even when he played his 300th game, it's like, there's going to be stories that you tell your kids, like who you played with, who you know, who were you present with in your journey, and like he's firmly going to be sitting at the top of that. Like, I was lucky enough to share a bit of Scott Pendlebury's journey. You were lucky enough to get a photo with him. You were lucky enough to hang out with him. Like, he's just one of those guys, and I think one of his greatest strengths since he started his own family, what he gives back to our younger guys at the club is something that we're incredibly lucky for, because they're getting a head start in their journeys by learning from one of the best.
Well said, both of you.